It's the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in.
So you're 21, you're living in New York, you have a property in Atlanta. How on earth are you managing this property? Like how like did you even did you have a plan at the time? Like what talk to us about that.
Yes. So, okay. Again, honestly, if I could go back and thank that seller, the person who sold me the first, I still remember his name
Hmm.
because he did help me. He got me a tenant. He
Wow.
got me a tenant. Yes, when it was clear that I wasn't going to be, because initially I did want to move out there because I just didn't like the fact that it was always cold here in New York.
Hmm.
And I wanted to move out there, but it didn't work out. So he said, okay, that's not a problem. I'm going to help you get a tenant. And he found one for me and put her in there, did all the credit checks, put her in there. And
Wow.
and she stayed for like a good 3.5 years.
Wow.
So even when people talk about the recession and how bad the recession was, I honestly left unscathed. Okay, so other than the house, the value of the home dropping, but then again, I wasn't interested in selling the property. So it didn't matter. The value didn't really matter to me. It was rented out. I was getting my rent. The rent was more than the mortgage. So on my end, in some ways, I was kind of good. He helped me. He got me someone, and I still own that property till today.
Wow.
Hate to say it out loud. Maybe there is some emotional connection because that's kind of like the house I grew up with.
Yeah.
Like the house literally made me an adult
Hmm.
because no matter what was going on in my life, I knew I had to pay a mortgage. So even if there was anything, wrong with the property, I'm like, nope, we have to pay the mortgage. I will never let, and this is not to say that houses that go in foreclosure, maybe the owners don't try to, but I just told myself I will never. I guess it's like a Jay-Z line. I won't, we're not with foreclosure, I will never forfeit. There's a line in his, I think, Forever Young,
Yeah.
the song. So yeah, I just told myself that I will never foreclose on this house, so this bill has to be paid
Yeah.
regardless of what's going on. He helped and he got me someone, and I've owned the house now for good 13, I think 13, 2007 till
Yeah.
now.
Almost 14 years.
I've only had one really horrible tenant.
Can you tell us about that?
That's
Because
I-
I
yeah,
think it's important to have that. I'm
that
thankful that
conversation.
you mentioned that because
Uh-huh.
things happen. So
Yeah, teacher, you can't be in the game for a long time without any horror story. I'm sorry. No matter how good of a landlord you are, the universe won't spare you. You will run into that one person. Um. So yeah, back to managing and stuff. The property is currently um property is currently occupied. It's not really managed by anybody. I don't really, and the community is probably split on this. I don't really believe in property managers.
hmm.
That might change if I have maybe like a 32 unit building. Obviously,
Yeah.
I don't want to be dealing with 32 people. I'm just probably going to hand it off to management. So, but I'm not there yet. Um, but as far as communicating one on one with all my tenants, they have my phone number. They can call me. I don't deal with manage. I just feel like they get in between me and the tenant. That's
Hmm.
just my very personal opinion. And so it's currently rented out now. The tenant pays. I tell all of the, you're an adult. I don't. They've all paid from long distance every month, like clockwork. They just pay the rent. It's really not that complicated. If there's any issues, just call me. I'll get someone out there to have it fixed. But as far as your rent, you will just make the deposit. That's it. So that has been working out. As far as the tenants,
Before
glad you asked.
before you dive into that, there's something you said I don't want us to pass over that. So
Okay.
you mentioned that you don't believe in property managers, and the reason I want to call that out is because, well, at least for you, it's not a fit for you. Let me not
Right.
let me
Exactly.
not put words in your mouth. But you said
Exactly.
it's not a
It's
fit.
not for
It's not
me.
for you.
Right.
I
Right.
recently,
Right
right now,
now.
right now,
Exactly.
I recently parted ways with my property manager in, I think, in January, similarly because it felt like they were kind of getting in between. I'm like, look, it's one door. Like, I'm fairly confident I could figure this out. And from that point to this point, the person has paid. She's leaving.
Mhm,
But like I have boots on the ground. Like
mhm.
I have someone who's able to help me do all the stuff, turn over all that stuff. Yeah, it's more coordination, but it's like, to your point, it's like there's nobody getting in between. So if something goes down
Exactly.
and it messes up, you can blame yourself. You know, I can
Mhm,
blame myself if I don't get somebody placed or whatever. So the reason I want to highlight that is because it's not a real estate is not a one size fits all, right?
no,
Like
it's not.
there's we've had guests with dozens of doors who have systems in place, who have people in the ground, you know,
Mhm,
and they just do it themselves, you know, like
mhm.
and there are just so many people who feel like managing a property is gonna take all of your time up. It's not
No,
necessarily true.
no, it's not. Let me put it this way: you need a handyman more than you need a property manager.
Hmm.
You need like three handymen on phone number, contact number on your phone. Someone who's good with everything, or someone who's good with plumbing. You need a handyman more than you need a property manager. You can manage your property yourself. The bigger issue you should be concerned with as the owner is screening. You got to screen. You have to have your criteria for screening people. If you can get that part right, trust me, you've done like 70% of the work. Because if you have a good person on your property, you will not have as many issues. The tenant that's over there right now, she's been there since, I think, 3.5 years,
Hmm.
roughly. I don't know that, no, I have not seen her. Now I do have an agent, my agent Sherry Wyatt. She's great. She helped me find her. She did all the due diligence, and I was fine paying her, whatever I had to pay her that one time. But she's not my manager. I did tell her though that she owns the house. What I mean by that is that if I ever decided to sell it, I would list it with her. So in that way, and she's great. But other than, and she's like my boots on the ground,
Hmm.
kind of. So going back to it, you need a handyman more than you need a property manager. And if you can screen right, if you get a good tenant and screen them properly, if you screen them properly, you stand a better chance of having less horror stories. And if we go back to my tenant from hell, that was my problem. I did not screen him.
Hmm.
That was the problem. He was a referral from the from the tenant that was there. So I had a tenant, he was moving out, and
Hmm.
he was moving to a different state for a new job. And that tenant had been with me for like 2 years. And he was a good tenant. He was a good tenant. We had a great relationship. If he had any issues, he was handy as well. So if anything happened, he would help fix it. If he couldn't pay rent, say like on the by the first, he would tell me and I'll give him more time. I said, just tell me the date you're gonna have it and we'll figure it out from there. So we had that kind of relationship. So when he told me he was leaving, um, but that he had someone, there was someone who could take over the place. I transferred trust. I transferred the trust that I had with him to that person and never screened that person. And that was my biggest mistake
Hmm.
ever. And, he moved in, stayed for like maybe like 2, 3 months, and then all the stories started and it just became this whole thing. Then he filed bankruptcy, then he listed just me as his creditor. He was just trying to avoid, yeah, he was trying to. And I think because I'm an out of state landlord, or maybe because I'm a woman, maybe he just thought I wouldn't come after him. I'm like, oh no, you've caught the right one.
Yeah.
And I went after him, you know went through the whole bankruptcy stuff, because the eviction court is a lower court
Hmm.
than the bankruptcy court is a federal court. So if someone files bankruptcy but they're going through an eviction, you have to stop. because you're in the lower court is going to tell you that the higher court has the higher power. So you're going to have to wrap up whatever you have over there with the bankruptcy before you can come back. And he failed to show up at bankruptcy court. He didn't show up, and then the judge found in my favor. So I went back to the magistrate court, continued my case. He showed up in court this time. I showed up as well, and the judge found in my favor and said, you got to move. You owe back rents. You know, what are you doing? And this was back in 2014, actually. So.
Got it.
Hi everyone, Sam here from the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Make sure to hit that notification bell and that subscribe button, and to visit us at blackrealestatedialogue.com.